Picture water falling nearly 500 meters down a mountainside, each drop catching the light, creating what looks like rivers of liquid silver cascading through an ancient alpine forest. This is Krimml Falls in Austria, the tallest waterfall in the country, and it's home to one of Europe's most remarkable ecosystems. Now, waterfalls might seem like harsh environments, all that crashing water and constant spray. But here's what's fascinating. That very force, that perpetual mist, that thundering energy, creates something extraordinary. A unique world exists here that you won't find anywhere else, where the constant moisture and the ions created by falling water support life in ways scientists are only beginning to understand. Tonight, we'll explore this vertical wilderness, meet the creatures that call it home, and discover why simply breathing near a waterfall might be one of the best things you can do for yourself. So settle in, get comfortable, and let's journey together into the mist. Welcome back to Sleepy Sycamore, where we explore the peaceful wonders of the natural world. Let's begin by imagining you're standing at the base of Krimml Falls. The sound is, well, it's overwhelming at first, isn't it? This deep, constant roar that you feel in your chest as much as hear with your ears. But give yourself a moment, let your senses adjust, and you'll start to notice something else. The air feels different here. It's cool, yes, but there's more to it than that. It's almost electric. Fresh in a way that makes you want to take deep breaths. And everything around you, every rock, every branch, every patch of ground is glistening with moisture. You see, Krimml Falls isn't just one waterfall. It's three main stages, three dramatic drops connected by rushing cascades tumbling down the side of the Hohetauern Mountains. The upper fall drops 140 meters, then the middle section, another 100 meters, and finally the lower fall, adding another 140 meters. All told, we're talking about 380 meters of falling water. That's taller than the Eiffel Tower, if you can picture that. This waterfall has been here for thousands of years, carved by the Krimmler Ache stream as it makes its way down from the glaciers above. And all that time, all those centuries of water falling, crashing to break billions of tiny droplets, it's created something special, a microclimate, a world within a world. Now here's where it gets really interesting. When water falls with that much force, when it crashes onto rocks and breaks into mist, something happens at the molecular level. The water droplets shatter and split, and in doing so, they release negative ions into the air. Tiny electrically charged particles, invisible to our eyes, but absolutely transforming the environment around the falls. Think of it like this. Imagine taking a glass of water and hurling it against a wall. As it explodes into spray, some of those droplets carry a slight electrical charge. Now multiply that by billions upon billions of drops, falling every second, 24 hours a day, for thousands of years. The air around Krimml Falls contains concentrations of negative ions that are sometimes 10,000 times higher than what you'd find in a typical city. Isn't that something? And life responds to this. Plants, insects, birds, microorganisms, they've all adapted to thrive in this perpetually misty, ion-rich environment. The forest surrounding the falls isn't quite like any other forest. The trees here, mostly Norway spruce and European beech, are draped in mosses and lichens that seem to grow more lushly, more vibrantly green than you'd expect. These aren't your ordinary forest mosses. Many of them are species that specifically require this constant, gentle moisture. Not the drenching rain of a storm, but this fine, persistent mist that never quite lets things dry out. Take a moment to appreciate the lichens here. These fascinating organisms, not quite plant, not quite fungus, but a partnership between the two, living together as one. On the rocks near the falls, you'll find species with wonderful names like Ramalina and Loberia pulmonaria, this lettuce-like lichen that's actually quite rare in many parts of Europe. It needs clean air and constant humidity. The waterfall provides both. Now let's talk about the creatures that make their homes here. The invertebrate life around Krimml Falls is absolutely remarkable. In the spray zone, that area closest to the falls where the mist is heaviest, you'll find specialized stoneflies and mayflies. Their larvae cling to the wet rocks, adapted to withstand the constant battering of water. They've developed flattened bodies like little living suction cups, and they graze on the microscopic algae and diatoms that coat every surface. Here's what amazes me about these tiny creatures. They're actually indicators of water quality. The species that live here can only survive in the cleanest, most oxygen-rich water. The fact that they thrive at Krimml tells us something important about this ecosystem. This is pristine alpine water, cold and pure, tumbling down from the glaciers and snowfields above. And then there are the birds. Oh, the birds. White-throated dippers are particularly special here. These remarkable little birds, they're about the size of a robin, plump and dark with a brilliant white chest, and they do something that seems almost impossible. They walk underwater. You see, they hunt for aquatic insects in the streams and pools around the falls, and they've developed the ability to wade right into the rushing water, using their wings to stay submerged as they probe the rocky bottom for food. Watching one work is like watching a tiny, feathered submarine. How wonderful is that? The gray wagtail is another frequent visitor, with its elegant long tail constantly bobbing as it picks insects from the wet rocks. And if you're patient, if you sit quietly in the early morning or late evening, you might catch a glimpse of a peregrine falcon riding the updrafts created by the falls themselves. The way the air moves here, pushed upward by all that crashing water, creates perfect conditions for these aerial hunters. But let's step back a bit, away from the immediate spray zone, into the forest that surrounds the falls. This is the riparian buffer, the transition zone where the influence of the waterfall gradually gives way to more typical alpine forest. And even here, several hundred meters from the falls, the ecosystem is shaped by that constant presence of mist. The understory, that layer of vegetation beneath the main tree canopy, is incredibly lush. Ferns dominate in many areas, particularly species like the lady fern and the broad buckler fern. Their fronds unfurl each spring in these beautiful spiral patterns called fiddleheads, and they thrive in the low light and high humidity. Walking through this forest feels almost primordial, doesn't it? Like stepping back in time to an era when ferns covered much of the earth. And here's something that might surprise you. The soil around Krimml Falls is actually quite nutrient poor. These are alpine conditions, rocky terrain, and harsh winters. But the constant mist, the way it delivers moisture and those negative ions, it helps fungi in the soil break down organic matter more efficiently. The mycorrhizal networks, those underground fungal partnerships with tree roots, seem to flourish here. Scientists have found that the trees near the falls often grow faster and healthier than similar trees in drier alpine environments, even though the soil itself is no richer. Now, let me tell you about something that makes Krimml Falls truly special from a human perspective. Since the 1990s, researchers have been studying the health effects of spending time near these falls, and what they've found is genuinely fascinating. Remember those negative ions we talked about? Well, it turns out that breathing air rich in negative ions may have real benefits for people with respiratory conditions. Studies conducted at Krimml have shown that people with allergies and asthma who spend time walking the trails near the falls, breathing that misty, ion-rich air, often report significant improvements in their symptoms. Some research suggests their lung function actually improves measurably. Now, we should be careful here. This isn't a miracle cure, and the science is still developing. But there's something to it. Something about this environment that seems to help people breathe easier. Maybe it's the ions. Maybe it's the way the mist captures pollen and other allergens, pulling them from the air. Maybe it's simply the psychological benefit of being in such a beautiful, peaceful place. Probably, it's all of these things working together. The local community has embraced this. There's actually a therapeutic trail, carefully designed walking paths that take you through the spray zones at different elevations, allowing you to spend time in areas with the highest ion concentrations. People come from all over Europe now, not just to see the falls, but to breathe there, to walk slowly through the mist and let it settle on their skin and fill their lungs. Isn't that beautiful? This waterfall that's been falling for thousands of years, shaping the landscape, creating this unique ecosystem, and now it's offering something to us humans as well. not demanding anything in return, just being itself, doing what waterfalls do. The seasonal changes here are worth appreciating too. In winter, the falls take on an entirely different character. Ice forms in the most extraordinary patterns. Not completely freezing, mind you, the water keeps flowing beneath, but the spray freezes on the rocks and trees, building up these massive curtains of ice, icicles as thick as tree trunks hanging from the cliffs. The sound changes too. It becomes somehow sharper, more crystalline, as the water crashes through ice and snow. Spring is when the falls are at their most powerful. As the snow melts in the mountains above, as the glaciers release their winter accumulation, the volume of water can increase dramatically. What might be a relatively peaceful cascade in late summer becomes a thundering torrent in May and June. The spray reaches further, the roar intensifies, and the whole ecosystem seems to vibrate with this pulse of energy. Summer brings the most visitors, of course. Families hiking the trails, children delighting in the rainbows that form in the mist when the sun is at the right angle. And there's something special about sharing this place with others, seeing that wonder on people's faces when they round a corner and suddenly there it is, this massive wall of falling water. By autumn, as the flow decreases again, you can sometimes see details that are hidden during high water. The layered rock faces, the way the water has carved channels and pockets over millennia, and the surrounding forest puts on quite a show. The beaches turning golden yellow against the evergreen spruce, all of it reflected in the pools and streams below the falls. One thing that strikes me about this ecosystem is its resilience. Despite thousands of people walking the trails each year, despite the changes in climate we're seeing across the Alps, Krimml Falls persists. The glaciers above are shrinking, yes, and that will eventually affect the water flow. This is something we need to acknowledge. But for now, this system continues to function, continues to support this remarkable community of life. The protection of the area has helped tremendously. The falls and surrounding forest are part of the Hohe Tauern National Park, Austria's largest national park. This means development is controlled, logging is limited, and the ecosystem can largely function on its own terms. The trails are maintained carefully to prevent erosion, and there are rules about where people can go, ensuring that the most sensitive areas remain undisturbed. And you know what else thrives here? Silence. Or rather, not silence exactly, but the absence of human noise. Yes, there's the roar of the falls, but that's a natural sound. Your brain processes it differently than, say, traffic or machinery. After a while, the roar becomes almost meditative. It's constant, unchanging, and somehow it creates a space where thoughts can settle. Many visitors report that just being near the falls, even for an hour or two, leaves them feeling refreshed in a way that's hard to describe. Calmer, more centered. Maybe it's those ions, maybe it's the beauty, maybe it's just having a chance to step away from the usual noise and rush of modern life. Whatever it is, this waterfall has been offering it to anyone who visits for as long as waterfalls have existed. There's a lesson in that, I think. Nature doesn't hurry, does it? Water falls at the speed it falls. Trees grow at the rate they grow. The ecosystem around Krimml has developed over thousands of years, each species finding its niche, each organism adapted to the specific conditions here. There's no rushing this process, no shortcut to creating this kind of complexity and beauty. And here we are, privileged to witness it, to walk through a landscape shaped by water and time, to breathe air that's been charged by the physics of falling water, to see mosses and lichens that exist nowhere else, and birds that dance in the spray. All of this happening whether we're watching or not, whether we understand it or not. The waterfall falls, the ecosystem thrives, nature carrying on with its ancient rhythms. And so we've journeyed through the mist of Krimml Falls, from the thundering upper cascade to the quiet forest pools below, meeting the creatures and plants that make this vertical wilderness their home. Water falling, creating life, creating beauty, creating healing even. It's remarkable, isn't it, how something as simple as water and gravity can build something so complex and wonderful. Nature never ceases to amaze. Thanks for joining me tonight on Sleepy Sycamore. If you enjoyed this peaceful journey through the mist, I'd love to have you back for the next one. Until then, Take a deep breath, appreciate the natural world around you wherever you are, and sleep well, friends.